Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 385 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined as ever by former heavyweight world title challenger. It is of course Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing this week, my man?
I'm doing good, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. Going to dive straight into the review part of the show. I've said it a million times before, but I think it's going to be a shorter show than normal. Can't wait for the preview part, to be honest with you, because I think there's a couple of interesting fights to mention. But before we get into all that, let's dive straight into the review part. We're going to start here with a card that took place at the Hilton Hotel Porto Masso in Malta. Over here, friend of the show, friend of Eddie's, Dave Allen returned to winning ways. 21-5 with 2 draws, a first round TKO there against Michael Bassett, who's now 2-9. Good stuff for Dave Allen. Moving out now to the Armory in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. This one was live on Showtime. Gonna start with the undercard, a win on points for Jamal James, now 28-2. A unanimous decision there over 10 against Alberto Palmetta, who's now 18-2. What else did we have? Elvis Rodriguez moved to 14-1 with a draw. He was able to beat by majority decision Joseph Adorno, now 17-2 with 2 draws. Adorno down twice in the fight. Terrible scorecard from whichever judge had it a draw. Clear winner was Elvis Rodriguez, and both guys were relatively big punchers. I actually thought that one could have ended inside the distance, but no, Adorno down twice, but does get up, does hear the final bell. There was a bit of an upset on the card as well. Quadratilo Abdukukurov, now 18-2. He lost a unanimous decision over 10 rounds at welterweight to Vaishon Owens, who is now 14-3. Vaishon Owens, is a big puncher. I thought that if he is to spring some kind of an upset, maybe he'd make Abdukukurov walk onto a punch or something like that, and he'd hurt him, maybe drop him. But no, he wins wide in the end over 10 rounds. That was quite unexpected for him to win on points. And the main event, Subriel Matias, now 19-1. He's the new IBF World Super Lightweight Champion. The belt was, of course, vacant. He was able to beat Jeremias Ponce by 5th round retirement. So Ponce didn't come out for round 6. He loses his O. He's now 30-1. Matias, like I say, 19-1, and his one loss is a loss he avenged by knockout. So still he has that knockout record intact as well. He can say he's knocked out everyone he's faced, which is great really for a guy at 140. You don't see that too often. To be honest with you though, I knew it was going to be a great fight. Forgot what night it was actually taking place on because of the whole Paul Fury stuff, and I missed it. So unless you saw it, Eddie, I don't really have much to add. Again, I feel like I'm doing the listeners a disservice. Did you see any of it?
No, I missed it too. A friend of mine told me it was on. I was out doing some runs and stuff like that. Not had the chance to see it. I wish I did though.
No problem. I missed it as well. Again, sorry to the listeners there that neither of us saw the card. But yeah, I'm guessing it was a good one. I'm definitely going to have to go and check that out when I get a piece of spare time. Moving out now then to the final card to mention at the Diriyah Arena in Diriyah, Saudi Arabia over here. It was live on BT Sport over here. I think it was on ESPN pay-per-view as well in the States. Yeah, a fighter called Bader Samreen was able to move to 8-0. He's got, I think, 7 KOs. A first-round TKO against Viral Simeon, who's now 23-10. There was a bet that I quite liked the look of with this fighter, Samreen, and I think it was for the fight to at least go into round 4, because I knew that he'd probably get Simeon out there, but you know, Simeon usually takes him a few rounds to be got out of there. You know, he went 3 rounds with Gary Cully, went 4 rounds with Zelfa Barrett, 5 rounds with Harlem Eubank, 4 rounds with Samuel Molina. Obviously went the distance with Scott Quigg and Lee Selby. Got knocked out in 1 round by Shakur Stevenson, but that's the only time he's, you know, been took out within 4 rounds other than that. So there was a bet that the fight would go into the 4th round and you could more than double your money. I thought it was a really smart bet, but Samreen gets the TKO in the 1st round. I think that's it for Simeon. I don't really want to see him again. Moving up the card once again, Ilunga Makabu, Eddie. I'm going to give my 2 pence first. Now 29-3. He loses his WBC Cruiserweight World title. He was down in round 4. He was down in round 11. Badu Jack now, unbelievably, 28-3 with 3 draws. He's the new Cruiserweight World Champion. He's done that now, across 3 weight classes from 168 right up to the cruiserweight limit, which is just incredible for a guy to have done that at 39 years of age. Yeah, I mean, as I said on last week's show, Makabu was a big favourite, going into the fight. And I was looking at the betting during the fight, and, you know, obviously the fight starts, Makabu's the favourite. Then they kind of had it really close. Then Makabu went back to being a huge favourite. Then the knockdown happened, and Jack became a huge favourite. It was just weird, like the odds were just flying back and forth. But Jack obviously started the fight sharper in the first couple of rounds. But for me, Makabu, I don't know. He just seemed like, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain it. Just didn't seem like, I didn't really get what I expected to get from him. You know, he's a big puncher. He didn't look like one. I thought that he'd be, the much stronger man, even though I think he was giving away a bit of height, which we also highlighted last week. I thought he'd be the stronger man. I thought he'd be able to grind Jack down over the 12 rounds, but he just turned up, looked tired, from the first round, and it was such a disappointing show, and he was so slow, really sluggish. I thought the first knockdown there was a little bit of a leg tangle involved, but still, it didn't make up for how awful Makabu was, and that 10-8 round there that I've mentioned there in round 4 didn't really make a difference in the end. But look, I actually watched it, and I like Badu Jack. He's a friend of the show. I think this is an unbelievable accomplishment, Eddie, and I'm sure that you'll agree. But I kind of watched the fight, and I was more disappointed with Makabu than impressed with Badu Jack. I don't know if you saw it the same. But like I say, credit to Jack to do what he's done. Freeweight world champion at 39 years of age. But I don't see him, remaining champion for too long. I think someone like, God, could you imagine putting him in with someone like Lawrence Okoli, 6'5" cruiserweight puncher? No way. So, I don't think it's going to be a long reign, but it doesn't matter. He has once again entered the history books, freeweight world champion. He's from Sweden as well, Badu Jack. I'm wondering, he's got to surely be Sweden's only ever freeweight world champion. Surely. I don't know if I'm making that up on the spot, but that is incredible. Anyway, what did you think of it, Eddie? And being slightly older than Badu Jack, but, you're probably sitting there thinking that if you trained hard enough, you probably could make cruiserweight. Was you watching it thinking, I don't know, what was you thinking? Was you impressed, or was you thinking, if I lose a few more pounds, I could maybe take that belt off of Jack, perhaps?
Yeah, honestly, funny enough, I'm going to be mad, maybe. I didn't actually see it.
Oh.
Like, I see parts.
All that build up.
Yeah, I know. I seen parts. And, I kind of understand why you say what you said about Makabu. Like, he didn't really give you anything that you would say, well, or for Jack to say that I beat a good version of him. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it looks more like he was just the beneficiary of a lackadaisical, I guess, lackadaisical version of what Makabu is supposed to be. He's a puncher. He's a come forward guy. He's strong. He's more intense than what he showed, and he looked kind of domesticated, in that fight. But I mean, you got to give Jack credit. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. He went in and got the stoppage too, which I didn't necessarily think would happen. I thought if he would win by decision. But he goes out and actually, takes control and dominates, and then stops him at the end. So I mean, it's you got to give him credit. I didn't think that was going to happen. You didn't either, Joe. So it's a crazy situation, especially him being the age he is. Being a little tiny bit younger than me, and does that give me momentum to think that or confidence that possibly I can do that? Sure. I mean, I didn't need Badou Jack to win that fight for that to happen for me. I still believe that I have enough in the tank to do that, but it would definitely require a great deal of hard work, which I'm obviously planning to do. And now that Badou Jack is a player, obviously a big player in the cruiserweight division, that will be an interesting fight, in the future. I've always wanted to at least give myself an opportunity to fight at cruiser and hopefully win a cruiserweight title if I didn't get the opportunity for heavyweight. So yeah, this is an awesome thing to happen. You got to give credit to Badou Jack. You know what I mean? Like I said, 3-weight world champion. None of us picked him to win. A lot of the bookies didn't pick him to win. So hey, we gotta eat that pie and give Jack his credit.
Yeah, like I say, I still think it's amazing for Jack to have done what he's done at this age. No problem with that. I just felt I was a little bit more kind of underwhelmed by the performance of Makabu, who hadn't lost a fight since 2016. I thought that this is a fantastic opportunity for him as well to get in with a big name like Badou Jack. I thought he'd be massively motivated, and I thought that he would take this opportunity with both hands. It's, a nice payday, I'd imagine, on that undercard, and he'd obviously get a chance to beat a really respected fighter when he had a massive advantage over that fighter. And it just wasn't to be, but whatever it is, what it is. Moving on to the main event. I only saw the first 6 rounds of it, but I will discuss what I saw. Jake Paul loses his He's now 6-1, a split decision loss over 8 rounds there to Tommy Fury, now 9-0. Both men had points deducted for fouls. Fury down in the 8th and final round. First round I gave to Fury. The second round I thought was a close one. The commentary were favouring Fury, but I actually quite liked how Jake would slip outside of Fury's jab. He'd fire a hook over the top of it, be it left or right hook, and he was missing just slightly. They just whistle past the chin of Tommy Fury, but yeah, the left hook in particular from Jake Paul looked really dangerous. I was quite surprised by that. It wasn't the straight shots that were impressing me. Round 3 I gave to Jake Paul. I felt he was kind of having Tommy Fury walk into hooks. Fury as well, limited head movement. I think both guys had limited head movement really, but Tommy Fury kept going back in straight lines. Round 4 I thought was a clear Fury round. Jake Paul started to look real tired. My stream at this point was cutting out. I was trying to reload it. It was a bit hard to kind of follow punch for punch. Round 5 I gave to Fury. At least I was gonna give it to Fury. Obviously Jake Paul had a point, took off that round. I felt it was a bit of a shocker really from the referee, and the referee, by the way, was poor all night, and a lot of people felt the same. But I felt that at that point in round 5, if anyone deserved the point off, it would probably be Tommy. Not that I think anyone deserved to have one off, but he kept telling Tommy off, and I was starting to wonder, what is this referee's problem? And then all of a sudden it seemed like, without warning, he takes one off of Jake, and I'm not too sure what it was for. I think it might have been holding or something, but Again, my stream cut out a few times, but it seemed like he didn't give him a warning. I didn't see a warning. Maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, I thought, wow, that's going to be huge on the scorecards there. And then round 6, again, I gave to Tommy Fury. I think he landed a couple of thunderbolt uppercuts, and Jake obviously showed a fantastic chin. Round 7, I pretty much didn't see any of it. And round 8, again, I saw a tiny bit of it where Tommy walked into a jab and got put down. There's been a lot of discussions about whether or not it was a slip or not. Obviously, a punch landed. I think it was a genuine knockdown, but it wasn't one that I think is that significant at all, because it clearly wasn't hurt, and anyone can walk right into a jab and be put over without really being hurt. It just knocks you off your balance. So that was what I thought of it. I don't know what my final scorecard really was, because like I say, I didn't see the final 2 rounds in total. I missed those 2. I only saw little bits, but yeah, I thought probably Fury would nick it, especially with I was going to say with the point off, but like I say, I'm almost forgetting they both had a point off, and I'm not even sure which round Fury had his one took off. That's what I'm saying. I missed a bit of it. When I tuned back in, they said Tommy had a point took off as well. Then there was a 10-8 against him. So I don't know. I'm not too sure exactly what happened, Eddie. Maybe you can clear it up, or if not, just tell me what you thought of the fight anyway.
I don't really remember seeing the point being taken off of Tommy. It might have happened. But I seen the one off of Jake Paul, and I was wondering the same thing. Like, why is he taking points? And he was talking to him so much to me. He was, like, having conversations, like, trying to tell him, I don't know what it was. And I was like, why is he stopping him so much? Like, and it was just too much delay in action. You know what I mean? And I was wondering what the issue was with that. And then when he took the points off, I was like, he seems like he's one of those guys who's trying to be a part of the show a little bit too much, than, a little more than just being the referee. And, there's no jab to throw at him, but sometimes you get guys like that. They want to be part of the show or the show. But as far as like, how the fight went, it kind of went exactly as I would have expected. I mean, I thought, a lot of people wanted, they're quick to dismiss Jake Paul, and he's not a boxer, but then there's others that are, saying he's, the best and all that stuff. I think he's more somewhere in the middle. I think he's learning. I think he's getting better. I think there's a lot more for him to learn, but he didn't look terrible. He didn't look, awful like an awful boxer. He looked like a, low-level, professional fighter that's trying to get his stripes. There's nothing wrong with that. But, and to be quite honest, so did Tommy. Tommy probably looked a little better. He was doing, it's hard to say you could see the difference in experience, you know what I mean? Because there were things that Jake Paul did a little better than Tommy. Some of the counter shots he was throwing was pretty good. I did like Tommy's right uppercut. It looked good. He landed a couple good ones. And at the end of the day, he got by on the decision, which I thought he deserved. You know what I mean? It was a good little scrap. It was, it's nice it's good to see, even, at it being an 8-rounder and something like that, which on most scales would be kind of small, turn out to be such a big thing. And you got to give that credit to Jake Paul. Don't get me wrong, Tommy Fury got some, some stuff behind him too. So you don't want to just say that it was all about Jake Paul. I mean, a lot of it is, but Tommy's got some fame too. And this did nothing but add to it. And, being able, seeing all of the, the people on the side, and then, Tyson, being there, some of the other fighters and other people being there. It was a great event. Did it in Saudi Arabia. I'm pretty sure it grossed a lot of money for, just in general, and it got a lot of eyes on it. And what I like about it most is that it got more interest in boxing. You know what I mean? Boxing as a whole. And once again, I got to give Jake Paul credit for that. He's been doing a lot with boxing, obviously wanting to be involved in it, wanting to actually really be a part of it, but also, promotion and getting interest in it, within the women's boxing too. So, he can be villainized in a lot of ways because of how he talks and what he does, but I just think he's a good salesman. I think I think what he's doing for boxing is great. And, what he did for Tommy in this particular fight is great. Now he's even more famous he's going to be, world known now, internationally known. So, like I said, the fight itself was, it was entertaining. You know what I mean? But we know what they are. We know what fighters we were watching. I mean, most knowledgeable boxing people understood what we were watching. But we can get behind and get excited about it and say, oh, this is a hell of a thing they did, a hell of an event, and just enjoy it as a fan. You know what I mean? We didn't have to think about let's break them down to every little thing and hold them to the highest level of skill. But we just enjoy it. I think we should just watch it like we did, watch it and enjoy the event and what it was. And actually, it was pretty entertaining. You know what I mean? Going back and forth, especially with the me knowing Tommy and just in general. I mean, for everybody. You know what I mean? Not just me. I was speaking on myself, but not just me. But it was an entertaining thing to watch. You know what I mean? And I'm not against this. You know what I mean? I'm a boxing guy. You know what I mean? And yes, I do feel that there's a lot of fighters that are probably going to be overlooked. For for him to be rated. You know what I mean? Or at that point to try to become rated. Same thing for Tommy. But I like what it's doing for boxing. So you know what I mean? I'm just going to be a fan of it, and hopefully it gets better from here. And like I said, it gets some more interest in some of the other fighters.
Well, there we go. That wraps up the review part of the show. The final thing for me to do in this part is to welcome this week's special guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2020 Olympian and now undefeated pro. It is, of course, Mr. Troy Isley. Troy, welcome to the show, my man.
Appreciate it, bro. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Troy. So it's the first time we've had you on, so welcome once again. You were obviously a successful amateur before turning pro. You then went back into the amateurs in order to compete in those Olympic Games. I wanted to ask you, what was your highlight moment of the amateurs, Troy? Making it to the Olympics or getting that bronze in the Worlds? I'm sure it's one of the two.
Getting the bronze at Worlds, because I was young. I was 18. That was kind of like my first time on the scene, so everybody really didn't expect me to do that. So probably winning the bronze at Worlds.
Yeah, a brilliant achievement. You turned pro back in February of 2021, so just over 2 years ago now. How were you finding it? And people talk about that infamous transition from amateur to pro. Was that a thing for you, Troy?
I ain't gonna lie, it was kind of hard. I ain't gonna say it was kind of hard, but I got used to the pro style, slowing things down. So it was kind of hard for me to make the transition back. But making the transition, making the transition from amateur to pro wasn't hard, but for making the transition back to amateur was a little hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I noticed that you haven't boxed anyone as a pro yet who has a losing record. Is that something that's been intentional?
Yes. Yeah. I don't want to fight, I ain't gonna say bums, but I don't want to fight anybody, with losing records. I want to fight people who's gonna test me, in some way. And I want to be ready for whenever, my test comes. I want to be ready. So I want to fight, strong competition right now.
Excellent, man. It's refreshing to hear that. And you're listed as a middleweight, but I've got a feeling you can probably make 154. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You're currently 8-0. Your next fight has been scheduled for April 8th in Newark on that Stevenson-Yoshino undercard. Am I right in saying you'll be boxing Roy Barringer over 8?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because Roy, I was going to say, he's not a bad fighter. He's been given plenty of time to prepare. He can punch a bit. He's never been stopped. Another winning record. Do you feel he'll provide you with a good test, Troy?
I feel like he would. I feel like I'm better than him, so I feel like my skills are better than his, but I feel like he'll pose a good challenge for me.
And you're currently in training camp in Arizona. Forgive me for not knowing the answer to this question, but why Arizona, Troy?
I'm out here helping out, me and him was helping each other out, but I'm getting good sparring with Jesus Ramos. He's fighting on the he's fighting Joey Spence on the Caleb Plant and Benavidez card. So, why not, come out here and get those good rounds, and then, Arizona got altitude too. So, get those good rounds and, get that good training in with my guy, Jamie.
And I'm guessing over the years, you mentioned the good work there. I'm guessing over the years you must have got some good work in with a lot of really talented fighters. Who are some of the biggest names that you've sparred with, Troy?
Terrence Crawford, Swift Jared Hurd, Shakur. That's all I can think of right now. I don't know why.
That's a good trio. That's a good trio.
Yeah.
Did you happen to see the Jake Paul and Tommy Fury fight on the weekend? If so, I wanted to ask, what are they saying over there in America, like the boxers, about that?
I mean, some of them got mixed results. Some of them are like, oh, he lost. Most of the ones I talked to were saying he lost. They thought he lost. I thought he lost too, but it was mixed results. Some people don't like it. Some people feel like other boxers like us, like up and coming, should be getting that type of attention. But I mean, people got their mixed results. I don't really mind it. I mean, he's doing his thing. I can't really hate on what he's doing.
And obviously, your nickname is the Transformer. I can imagine why, but tell me why, or tell the listeners why, for those that don't know.
It's like two reasons. One reason was like growing up, I would always get like overlooked, or like on a show, it would be like a show like I would fight on or something like that, and I would just always get overlooked. So people would be like, oh, he's not going to do nothing, and then I fight and everybody be excited. Like I just excite the crowd, everybody be standing up, and you'll hear a lot of oohs and ahs, and then after the fight, everybody be coming up to me like, oh, like you're gonna be, nice when you turn pro, asking to get pictures and stuff like that. And then also like I'm well mannered. I don't really come off as disrespectful and stuff like that. So people just overlook me a lot. I don't come off disrespectful. I don't give that type of in your face, like loud type of energy. So people think, I'm soft or something like that. And then I get in there and they're like, damn, this nigga mean as fuck. So Kay was like, we're gonna call you the Transformer.
I love that. And I do just want to point out, obviously, to the listeners that may not know this, but obviously in the amateurs you beat some great fighters, the likes of Sebastian Fundora, Devin Haney, a couple others as well.
Yeah.
Austin Ammo Williams.
Yeah, beat Ammo. Yeah, Sebastian Ammo. Then I fought Israel Madrimov. I beat the Cuban gold medalist from 2016. So yeah, I got a pretty good amateur pedigree, fighting the best for sure.
Absolutely. And what are you making of the champions now? I'm gonna say you're more kind of going towards 154, like when you get a title shot of some sort, I'm guessing.
I mean, I'm a little bit of both. Honestly, I mean, if 160 is available, we can do 160. But I mean, I feel like I'm gonna go down to 154.
Okay.
But I feel like I win the title at 54. I don't feel like I'll stay at 54 for too long. So like, I feel better at 60. So I mean, I might go to 54 for a title, but I feel like 160 is my division to take over.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask because obviously at 154 you've only got the one champion. At 160 you've got a few of them. Obviously you've got Alimkhanuly as well, also with top rank. What's your thoughts on him as a champion?
Who?
I think I'm saying his name wrong, but the Kazakh.
Oh, Zhanibek Han?
There we go.
Yeah, Zhanibek is cool. He's a puncher. Good fighter. Definitely someone I would like to get in the ring with in the future for sure. Yeah. And, test my skills out. Okay.
And I like to ask this question to everyone that we speak to from overseas. Troy, I'm massively putting you on the spot here, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Favorite UK fighter, if you have one, Troy? Any era. It can be a guy that retired years ago if you want, but who springs to mind? Oh, there we go. It's the most popular answer.
Prince Nazim, of course. Can't go wrong with Prince, man. Could punch, could box, could do it all. Flashy, had the whole package.
He really did, man. Everyone loves Prince. And just finally, before we let you go, Troy, if you've got any closing words to the listeners here in the UK, obviously it's been fantastic having a few minutes with you. I think a lot of people already are aware of who you are. But if you want to close out with a message just to those listeners, particularly here in the UK, take it away, my man. And please remember to give us your social media handles as well.
Okay. Hey guys, Troy the Transformer Isley speaking. I know it's been a quiet 2023 so far. So I couldn't find. I didn't see a lot of cars that was like good to get on. So I've been quiet, but I'll be back April 8th, and you definitely gonna see a new Transformer, probably the best Transformer you ever gonna see, coming April 8th. And then also. If you want to follow me on Twitter, Go Transformer. On Instagram, BoxBoyTroy1, and Facebook, Troy Isley.
There we go. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Definitely follow the journey, guys. Listen, Troy, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you for your time. Best of luck April 8th, and we'll speak sometime afterwards, I'm sure.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. We're going to start here with this one. It's very unfortunate news, actually. It's that Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, that rematch which was set for, I believe it was May 20th in Dublin, that one has been postponed or cancelled at least. Amanda Serrano has suffered an injury. It's kind of come out of nowhere, which was a little bit weird. I think she was quite active on Twitter during Jake Paul's fight with Tommy Fury, but out of nowhere this week the fight is off. Doesn't actually say what the injury was, which is a bit weird as well. But anyways, all the best there to Amanda Serrano. Hopefully we see the rematch rescheduled. And in other news, it's another piece of news that involves a female. It's just that this time we're going to see Sandy Ryan getting in there with Marie-Pierre Houle, who I'm guessing is probably from France. That one is for the vacant WBO welterweight world title. It's going to be on the undercard of Joe Cordina against Rakhimov. So again, the date for that is April 22nd, so unbelievable. They're really rushing Sandy Ryan into a world title there at welterweight. Just thinking about it now, actually, I'm guessing that must mean that Jessica McCaskill must have vacated one of her welterweight titles, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it would appear as though that is the case, because the belt is vacant, so she must no longer be undisputed. I didn't know that. Wow, that's news to me. Anyways, all the best there to Sandy Ryan. Moving on now to the preview part of the show. This has been the part of the show that I've been looking forward to the most throughout this show, and it's because there's a lot of very, very weird fights taking place, and this one is where we're going to start, and it's a weird one. It takes place at the Karen Demirchian Sports Complex in Armenia, or Armenia, I should say. Over here, former cruiserweight world champion Murat Gassiev returns to the ring. It's always great to see him fight. He gets in with the undefeated 20-0 with 16 KOs, Mike Balogun, who is from the States, from I think Maryland, if I'm not mistaken, but a 6'1" southpaw, 39 years of age. Obviously undefeated, like I say. He was one of the guys. I say one of the guys. He was the guy that beat Trey Lippe. That's the son of Tommy Morrison. He actually knocked him out, took his O back in 2021. So I remember that fight at the time. He's quite a heavy set guy, Mike Balogun. He gets in with, like I say, Murat Gassiev, who has been just terribly inactive. Like it's just a joke at this point. Obviously, former cruiserweight world champion, like I say, moved up to heavyweight, and he's literally done since that Usyk loss that he suffered back in July 2018. He has literally done I believe it's about 6 rounds of boxing. So that is just insane, and it's good to see him back, but again, we just don't know what he's got left. And once again, I think I've said it before, he is a guy who is still extremely young. If you look at his his age, he's listed as being 29 years of age, but he's another guy who looks way older than 29. So not entirely sure what the case is with Gassiev, but again, good to see him back. But yeah, it could be interesting because, like I say, this guy here that he's stepping in with, he's got a few early knockouts in a row. I think he's in some really good form. Like I say, undefeated, obviously knocked out Tommy Morrison's son, and not a bad fighter at all. I think he's got like a background in American football. I believe it could have been a linebacker or something like that. I think I could be possibly making some of this up, but anyways, whatever. He's in good form. Like I say, he hasn't gone over 2 rounds in his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fights. They've all been knockouts for him within 1 and 2 rounds, so it could be quite explosive. And like I say, Gassiev has done 6 rounds in the last 4.5 years since losing to Usyk. Wow, could be interesting, could be spicy. Okay, that's it for that card though. That's it for Armenia. Moving now to this one. It's another weird one. It takes place at the Ruhr Congress in Bochum, Nordrhein, Westphalen, Germany. Again, not too sure if I'm pronouncing that right, probably not. But over here we're going to see Agit Kabayel, another really frustrating heavyweight who just hasn't got things going. I remember him beating Derek Chisora in Monaco. That's got to be about 5 years ago or something. He beat Derek Chisora, completely didn't capitalise from there, ended up fighting Kevin Johnson and just completely took a few steps back. But anyway, this could be quite interesting. He gets in with Agron Smakichi, who's 19-1 with 17 KOs, so he can certainly crack. The one loss he suffered was to Zan Kosobutsky, who has knocked out everyone he's faced, if I'm not mistaken, apart from might have been 1 or 2. But yeah, he's a decent fighter, this guy. You'd believe, but he gets in with Agit Kabayel, who just, like I say, needs to get things moving. He's another guy who's just still young, but he's only getting older and older, and I just don't understand what's going on. I don't know if he's got a good promoter behind him or what, but I actually think he's quite talented, but they just haven't been able to push on since beating Chisora. This one then, moving out to this one, coming back to the UK at the Newcastle Arena in Newcastle. It's going to be... Do you know what? I'm not entirely sure. I should probably know this, but I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be even televised, because it's Phil Jeffries who's the promoter of the show. Obviously doesn't have a TV deal. If he's putting this show on without a TV station, backing it, then I'm really confused as to how he's going to come up with the purses, because there's some serious fights here. It's surely got to be televised somewhere. But I should have done my homework and had a little look, but I haven't done, and it is what it is, really. But anyway, moving on to it, 3 really good fights, I think, on the card. We're going to see Lee McGregor back out in action. His record at the moment, 11-0 with that 1 draw that he has. He hasn't boxed since that draw. That draw was, by the way, to Diego Ruiz, the guy that just beat Gamal Yafai the other week. So obviously a decent fighter. That was his only minor blemish, and that draw was over 10 rounds back in February of last year. So he's coming off 13 months inactivity. He gets in with Alexis Kabor, who's a very, very tough fighter from Burkina Faso, 29-7, only been stopped the 1 time, and that one was back on his debut in 2004, so almost 20 years without being stopped. It's going to be interesting to see if Lee McGregor can get him out, because he usually bangs people out, but like I say, he's coming off inactivity, possibly the longest layoff of his career. And this guy Alexis Kabor, he's been to the UK a few times. I'm sure he's not going to be out of his comfort zone, so to speak. He's been the distance with some great fighters, Ray Vargas, obviously friend of the show, Archie Sharp, Thomas Patrick Ward, and a few other guys. Very, very, very durable, tough guy. Going to be interesting to see the price actually on McGregor points there, because if he gets him out, it's a bit of a statement, but the bookies might expect him to, so it'd be interesting if there's a good price for him to win that on points. Elsewhere on the card, we just mentioned his name, Thomas Patrick Ward. He gets in with Otabek Kolmatov, who's 10-0. This Uzbek fighter, 10-0 with 9 KOs. I'll be honest, I haven't seen a single second of him in the past, but he steps up here to take on Thomas Patrick Ward. I think it may be some kind of eliminator, if I'm not mistaken. You look for his record, hasn't really boxed any fantastic fighters. I can say the same for Thomas Patrick Ward as well. Really, I've criticised his record on many occasions, but yeah, this Uzbek, I imagine he had quite an extensive amateur career. I've had a little look at some of the guys he fought in the amateurs. I didn't really recognise any names, but last time out he beat Zhanibek Alimkhanuly, who I don't think's a bad fighter. Beat him. That was just under a year ago now. He's boxed Juan Carlos Pena as well, who isn't that great, to be honest with you either. But yeah, went the distance with Gregorian. It's just, I don't know. He's a big favourite here as well. He's a big favourite, the big punch in Uzbek, based in Hollywood, Florida. But obviously, Thomas Patrick Ward, undefeated as well, 33-0, on the cusp, you'd imagine, of a world title fight. He's got one draw, I should mention as well. He just seems like he's been treading water for ages. I don't know what the plan is with him. It's been so frustrating. He's got bags and bags of talent, and then obviously he keeps having these gimme fights. I don't understand what the point is behind it. Never had a good promoter, still only 28 years of age, and then he has close fights with people like Thomas Essomba, and it's like, what is going on? Just give this guy a world title shot, before it's too late, because he's putting miles on the clock for absolutely no reason. I just don't understand it. I really don't. But anyways, all the best to Thomas Patrick Ward. Obviously, he's based, I think, in County Durham, so he will be fighting here pretty much as the home fighter. He's fighting an Uzbek, but not far from his house. He'll be boxing here in Newcastle, so you'd imagine he's going to have a home crowd. You'd imagine if it goes to points, he could win, but he's a 3-1 underdog. So, yeah, be interesting, that one there, because they're expecting him to lose for the first time in his 30-odd fight career. So all the best to him. But yeah, I might put something small on him to win the fight on points, because I think that's very possible, and that price is quite tempting. And the main event, again, it's a real cracker of a main event. Lewis Ritson gets in with O'Hara Davies, and it's over 12 rounds here as well. No belt on the line. Lewis Ritson 23-2. Coming off that win last time out against Dejan Zlaticanin. I'm going to be honest, I can't even really remember that fight, but it went the distance. It was just under a year ago. O'Hara Davies in the other corner, 24-2, coming off a knockout win last time against a guy I hadn't heard of. O'Hara Davies gets overlooked, I think, a hell of a lot, and for whatever reason, people don't rate him, and I've never been one of those guys. I think people get, they let the hate for the guy get in the way of, what they think about his actual boxing. And he's big, he's strong, long, really super long arms, good jab. He can punch as well. I think there's a lot of things that work in his favour here. I think he's probably more suited to the weight, which will be 140. Yeah, Lewis Ritson's never really had me sold on him as a proper good 140 fighter. Obviously, the funny thing about this fight is that both men were victorious against Miguel Vasquez, but both men clearly lost the fight to Vasquez, but both men got gift decisions. We spoke about this man earlier on in the show as well, Jeremiah Ponce. He knocked out Ritson in his only stoppage loss, which was back in June 2021. The other loss came to Francesco Patera. And O'Hara Davies, his two losses, you really can't take any shame from them. He lost to Josh Taylor and he lost to Jack Catterall, so there's no shame in them at all. So yeah, I actually think O'Hara Davies is quite a big favourite here. I think it's a tough one. I really like the fight. I think it's as close as a 50-50 as you pretty much can produce, but I'd say I probably favour O'Hara Davies. I think probably for points if I was pushed, but I wouldn't be too surprised to see a stoppage. But I don't really give Ritson much of a chance. I don't think he stops O'Hara, no way. And could he get a decision if it's close, being at home? Possibly. But if I was pushed, I'd probably go O'Hara Davies points, then probably knockout, then Ritson points. I don't think Ritson knocks him out, which is mad to say because you consider what he did to the domestic level at lightweight. He was just unbelievable. But yeah, doesn't seem the same fighter up at 140. But no, should be a really decent show there. And like I say, I'm hoping it is televised. It probably is, but I've completely missed it. And now moving to the final card to mention, it takes place at the Toyota Arena in Ontario, California, USA. It's going to be live on Showtime. Let's start with the undercard. I heard that Terrell Gaucher was supposed to be on the undercard, but it looks like he's been pulled off at the last minute, which is a real shame. It was good to have him on the card. I think he's been pulled off, but yeah, it looked like he was on there a few days ago. Now I can't see it, and I was looking forward to seeing him return after losing his last fight to Tim Tszyu, and he dropped Tim Tszyu obviously, and even though he lost, it was a good showing, and yeah, I wanted to see him bounce back on this undercard, but it looks like he's not on the card. But the fights that we do have, we're going to see a return to the ring for former unified world champion Jarrett Hurd, 24-2. Again, a guy that just seems like he's been so inactive recently, and it's because he has been quite inactive. He's almost having 2 years out the ring, here before he returns. His last fight was a loss to Luis Arias. I remember betting on that fight, and I thought that Jarrett Hurd would win it quite comfortably, but he was terrible that night, actually. And to think we haven't seen him for 2 years, he now steps in with 13-1 Jose Resendiz, who's got 9 KOs. His one loss came to Marcos Hernandez back in September 2021. But other than that, I don't know too much about the guy. But you just expect Hurd maybe to just have a bit too much, just with the experience and stuff. But I think there's a lot of question marks really about what he's got left in the tank, unfortunately. Hasn't really looked the same since losing to Julian Williams. And that was a few years ago now. Like I say, he's been so inactive. So yeah, that'd be interesting there. What else do we have? We have a good fight here between two guys. We've got Amilcar Vidal, who's 16-0 with 12 KOs. He gets in with Elijah Garcia, who's 13-0, 11 KOs. So both men can bang. Both guys, undefeated, like I say. Both guys, relatively young. We've got Vidal, 27. I say relatively young, younger than me at least. And also Elijah Garcia, only 19 years of age. I'm not sure who the favourite is, but I'm expecting possibly a knockout there, because like I say, both men can bang. Elijah Garcia, I think, may be the guy who's kind of put in to win. It's over 10 rounds. He's a southpaw middleweight fighter. But I've noticed that Amilcar Vidal is with Samson Lukowicz, so that's interesting there. But anyway, both guys deserve a mention. And then the main event, again, I think it's a really, really good fight. Could end up being potentially, I don't want to say fight of the year, but maybe on the short list, because I really like both guys' styles, and I think it's going to gel really well. We're going to see Brandon Figueroa, 23-1 with a draw. He gets in with Mark Magsayo, 24-1. It's for the interim WBC World Featherweight title. This was the move up to featherweight for Figueroa that we expected after the last one. He obviously lost that very close fight to Stephen Fulton. Moved up to featherweight, a move that we all saw coming. He was massive for the weight and big even for this weight. But in his first fight at the weight, he boxed Carlos Castro, who again was really a super bantam coming up. So he eased into the weight really I guess slowly, if you like, or carefully, whatever you want to say. He gets in with Mark Magsayo, who, captured everyone's imagination when he had a Fight of the Year contender with Julio Ceja, which was an unbelievable fight back in 2021. Then, of course, he upset the apple cart massively. A real huge upset last year when he was able to dethrone Gary Russell Jr., take his WBC featherweight world title, but then lost it in his first offense to Ray Vargas. Hasn't boxed since then. That was 6 months ago now. But Eddie, I'm sure you've seen a little bit of Mark Magsayo, and I'm sure you remember the excitement that Brandon Figueroa brings every time. It's the last fight that we're previewing, but it should be a good one there on Showtime.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a fight, Joe. I'm looking forward to it. Both guys bring a great deal of excitement. Both action fighters. One's upset the apple cart big time with Gary Russell. The other almost did that with Stephen Fulton. Although it's the way things go with boxing. But I'm looking forward to it. It's an excellent fight. Two high level guys. Can't say, what more can you say? Just can't wait till it goes on.
Yeah, not long to wait now. I love watching Brandon Figueroa fight. It's I don't think it's for everyone because obviously it's not the most prettiest on the eye if you're looking at being hitting and not being hit, I should say. But love watching him fight. I think in that Fulton fight you touched on as well, I'm pretty sure he threw about 1,000 punches himself. So he brings the volume. He's up at featherweight, a weight which he feels is a lot stronger at, which is a scary prospect. And to see him in with Magseo, who again likes to bring the heat, bring the volume, wasn't very impressive last time out against Ray Vargas, and I think for me that's kind of what's made me feel like Brandon Figueroa will probably win, even though both guys are friends of the show. I wish them both the best, but yeah, I think Figueroa will probably win. I'm not sure if he gets a stoppage, may beat him on points, but again, I think there's going to be serious amount of punches thrown. It's going to be all action as it always is in Brandon Figueroa's fights, and yeah, I think the styles are going to gel. Like I say, Magseo will bring the heat as well, and it's going to be really fun while it lasts, so I cannot wait. I think it's a fantastic main event, and we are kind of being spoiled for these fantastic fights we keep getting almost every weekend. We're only early in the year and we've already had a few on the short list for Fight of the Year. I think this could be one of them, so do not miss it. It's going to be fantastic. But that wraps up the preview part of the show. In part one we did the review part. We welcomed our special guest, the undefeated Troy Isley. Then in part two we did the news, and we've just finished the preview part. The final thing for me to do is to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 385 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. A huge shout out to this week's special guest, the undefeated 2020 Olympian, Mr. Troy Isley. It was great having him on. It's great to connect with another prospect who I believe will go on to big things in the very near future. Don't think he wants to waste any time. I like his attitude that he wants to fight guys with winning records every single time. But yeah, the biggest thanks of all goes out to you guys for listening once again. It's the biggest thanks of all every single week, and we mean that from the bottom of our hearts. If you do have a spare 2 minutes or so, please leave us a review on iTunes. Remember to also visit manscaped.com and use the promo code BoxHard for 20% off plus free shipping. But that's about everything from myself. Enjoy your weekends, people. Stay safe, and we shall see you all again next week.